Congressman, good afternoon. Thanks for being on with us.
Hey, brother. Thanks for having me on. Glad to be with you.
And I know you're on the front lines of it. I want to start right there. I mean, obviously, there's other things that we can talk about, but let's start with the front lines of the southern border. I'll ask you simply, do you feel like this is getting better, the same, or worse currently under the Biden administration?
Well, it's absolutely horrible, and it's getting worse just because it's additive. So every month, although the numbers, they were down a little bit in June, although the problem with the shell game, and they put these people through the CBP One app, and they're not adding them into the encounter number. So it looks a lot better than it is. If you add those new people being brought in and given asylum, just catch and release basically through the ports of entry to the encounter numbers, well, it's getting close to what it was. But June was down a little bit from last June and down a little bit from before that. So, but it's additive, right? So every new person adds to the demands on communities across the country, and that's a bad thing. And they have no interest in closing it down. Everything they're doing is to facilitate more people coming in.
I'm amazed at the willingness on the part of the mainstream media to ignore the real problems that are happening in major sanctuary cities now that they're feeling some of the brunt of this. I think our border governors have gotten wise to the way that they need to draw attention to this, and the mainstream media just seems steadfast in not reporting it. You see it in New York City. You see it in other major metropolitan areas where they're feeling such a strain. And it's funny, they're now repeating the same type of language that our southern border states have been talking about for the last 10 years, Mark.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I mean, MSNBC actually, which, somebody pointed out to me earlier, was bashing on the Biden administration, interestingly enough, now that the New York and the Massachusetts governor issued a state of emergency. What's interesting is that was 20,000. They had 20,000 migrants they're dealing with in Massachusetts. That's 10 days on the Arizona border. So these people are screaming. I mean, Adams, the mayor in New York, he's talking about 200 a day, overwhelming a city of 11 million. How about El Paso, Texas, where 850 are coming in a day? And, oh, by the way, that's a city of less than 200,000 people. I'm at the point now where, we want to say we were out there saying every state's a border state, and look, we're taking a hit in Tennessee too, but it's almost offensive. You got to feel bad for Texas and Arizona saying all states are a border state, because it's still not even close. I mean, it's like a drop in the swimming pool to what's happening to Texas and Arizona. They're getting hammered. And these Democrats start screaming about their 200 a day, and oh my gosh, and yeah, okay, good. Welcome to the party, but man, we're talking 7 million people. And this is insane.
It is, and I know how loath the court system, the judicial branch, has been to get into what is ultimately a disagreement between the Congress of the United States and the executive branch, because clearly Biden is not doing his job as set out by the law regarding immigration. So if we 100%. can't get remedy in the judicial, I mean, it's the best thing we can hope for is to draw attention to this and move toward 2024 and electing more conservatives in the House of Representatives, electing more conservatives in the Senate, and obviously the White House. I mean, can we do any more?
You blinked out there.
No. Is there any more that we can do outside of drawing attention to it?
Well, we passed a wonderful bill, Matt. I mean, that border security bill that we put out there, it will fix all of this. It is fantastic if the Senate, if we can get people educated and get more of these, like there was a TV hit from some guys in Chicago because the social services are getting moved over for a lot of people up there, and they're starting to fight. If we raise enough of a voice, we can get America's gone and some stuff changed. I'll give you an excellent example: the archery programs and the gun education programs in Tennessee. As soon as I heard about that, my team had a bill like within a day, and we dropped that bill. We started educating people. We started, and I will tell you, it swept the country. Biden yesterday announced they're going to bring those back. So, and that they made a mistake. So if we get loud enough, maybe, just maybe, we can move this thing. And so get loud, force them to pass the bill in the Senate that we passed in the House. That's what we got to do.
You bring up this. You bring, well, no doubt on the Mayorkas front, and I would love to ask you about are we closer to seeing an impeachment of Mayorkas or Joe Biden?
I think Biden, all the attention. I mean, I'm still pressing forward with my 5 phases to help educate. When we're done, we're going to release a packet on all the failures and and what I think are some laws broken. But obviously, all the attention now is on the Biden crime syndicate, and it's got everybody's attention. Even in the we did a Republican presentation, myself, Comer, and Judiciary about the 3 investigations we're doing. Jordan into DOJ, Comer into the Biden family syndicate, crime syndicate, and then me on Mayorkas. All the questions were about Biden and the crime syndicate. Every Republican member of Congress, that's what everybody's focused on. So, and it's pretty revealing. I mean, some of the new testimony. I mean, we need to do an impeachment inquiry. We need to form an impeachment inquiry today on Joe Biden.
Well, I look forward to that impeachment inquiry because I think more and more evidence is coming out. I know that you've noticed. I mean, this $20 million is prima facie evidence that there was some sort of scheme, call it a bribery scheme if you want. I think it's pretty close to it, if not dead on. It's pretty. If this doesn't rise above the clatter and create a dynamic by which the mainstream media has to cover it, Mark, I don't know what will, because this seems on its face to be a bribery scheme by the then Vice President of the United States.
It is a quid pro quo. The whole thing with Burisma and the prosecutor being thrown off, that's a clear quid pro quo. The money being funneled to the family is clearly has influenced Joe Biden's decision making and the things he did, both as a vice president and now as a president. Honestly, it is a high crime. When you use your office, the definition of a high crime is when you use your office to, benefit yourself or do detriment to the country, and it's in that position. And that's exactly what Joe Biden has done. And honestly, the powers of the Congress, when an impeachment inquiry is not an impeachment, it's a higher level of investigation with much greater powers granted to Congress to go and get information. And that's what we've got to do.
You mentioned the shooting sports. I've long contended, Mark, that the left wants to create any conversation about a gun or in this case archery too, to turn into a negative regarding the weapon. It is necessary in order to do what I think their ultimate plan is, and that is to confiscate weapons in the United States of America. They made an attempt. Talk to me about what exactly they were trying to do. And I know you fought back against this. They wanted to eliminate funding from schools that were involved in extracurricular activities like shooting sports.
Yeah, it's just like it is this centralization of power in Washington, this end around the federalism. They tax the money up to Washington, and then they dribble it back to the states, whether it's Title $10. They stopped those from Tennessee because we don't do abortions anymore. And I've drafted a bill on that. We haven't won the day there. That's a tougher one. On the archery and hunting safety courses that are taught in schools, they basically pulled education Title IX funding from that. And, we did a bill, we did a messaging campaign, and I mean, it was, I think 72 hours, they changed their mind. So Democrats clearly got on board with pushing back against that. That would have affected about 60,000 students in Tennessee.
Well, we recognize that you are focused on Washington, D.C. Are you watching at all what's going on in Tennessee with the special session? I mean, have you had any moment and any? I mean, I know you've been down there in the General Assembly. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I think red flag laws are a bad idea. In fact, they're going to get people hurt, and it's look. Is there stuff we can do to help people who are struggling with mental health? Absolutely. If that's where they're going,